Hi Raiders, do you all remember the Emperors? We have talked about them multiple times already in some of my previous videos, in the shorts, in the long formats, and well, it looks like we're finally getting them in Ark Raiders. But before we get into this, a big spoiler warning for everybody watching right now. If you do not want to know what is potentially coming in the near future, I would strongly recommend clicking away now because this leak is absolutely massive, even though it's gonna kill my algorithm, so please consider that. So more information has resurfaced regarding the new map coming to Ark Raiders in October called Frozen Trail. Embark is calling this the biggest update yet, and it really looks huge, it really looks massive. And if these leaks are accurate, we are looking at something far larger than just a new map and a new few arcs like a Firefly or a new you know, like Fireballs or something, or another just seasonal event. We actually might be looking at the future of Ark Raiders itself. In my previous videos, I already talked about the Frigate, a massive unidentified Ark vessel that many of you recognize from the Hurricane events. The same object we have seen circling around the Rust Belt, the same object connected to the strange signals, the UFO sightings, and much of the lore speculating surrounding the Ark Raiders. Today, however, we are finally getting our first look at the actual model, so here it is, guys. And what surprised me the most is that it's not just the Frigate coming to the game itself. The Emperors appear to be coming as well, and although there's a little catch, you know, the first thing we need to clear up is the name. According to the files, these creatures or these arcs are actually called collectors. So from now on, we gotta refer to them as collectors. The community has been referring to them as emperors for quite some time now, but internally, Embark is calling them collectors in the files. And Raiders, these things are enormous. They're just huge. Just look at the scale comparison between the Queen and the Collector. And take a second to really look at this image. We have a gigantic Ark vessel, the Frigate, carrying both a Queen and a Collector, and honestly I'm still struggling to process just how large this thing actually is, you know. The Queen already feels huge when you encounter one in the raid, and the Collector just makes it look small, like a little tick. And this is where things start to get really interesting, because based on everything we have seen so far, this does not appear to be traditional Ark operation or just like map modifier, you know. Instead it looks like we may be getting something Ark Raiders has never attempted before, and that is a raid within a raid. Yes, you hear that correctly. According to the files, the entire event begins on Frozen Trail itself, and at the start of the raid, a harvester should be present somewhere on the map. Players will need to obtain harvester power cells and transport them to something called Ark Beacon Station. The Ark Beacon Station accepts these power cells, and once they are activated, it appears to call down what the files again refer to as a Frigate Taxi. So hell yeah, we're getting Bolts and Ubers in the game. That's literally what it is called, a taxi. The Frigate Taxi then arrives, allowing raiders to board it. And this is where things get really interesting, because according to the files, boarding the Frigate Taxi triggers a transfer to an entirely separate location, the Frigate itself, you know, so it's gonna be a map within the map, you know, like a real map transfer this time. If it works the way it sounds, raiders will begin their raid on Frozen Trail, complete the objectives to activate the Ark Beacon, board the Frigate Taxi, and then be transported into an entirely different playable area during the same session. That is completely different scale of event compared to anything we have seen in Ark Raiders so far, and there is more. Another leak shows what appears to be the interior of the Frigate. Inside we can see multiple power cores and other structures that strongly suggest there will be objectives to complete after boarding, so I really think a lot of cooperation will be needed in that part of the map. Which raises a really important question. How does this event actually end? Do raiders destroy the Frigate? You know, is it gonna be the end game, or do we sabotage it and escape? Escape where, you ask? I don't know. Does it become a beginning of something much bigger? Because for the first time, Ark Raiders may finally be moving beyond simply scavenging what remains on Earth, you know, and we actually might be getting like out of orbit or something. For years, the biggest mysteries in the game's lore have been the Exodus, the Arks, and what happened to the people who left the planet. And the Frigate could be the first real step forward answering those questions, you know. And if Embark decides to expand the game beyond Earth's surface in the future, this feels like a perfect place to begin. Now let's talk about Frozen Trail itself. Alongside these leaks, we also received reports containing a large number of new points of interest. I'm not going to read through every single one individually, so if you want to pause and inspect them for yourself, feel free to do so, but what matters the most is the total number. The total number of these points of interest is actually 34 new locations listed in the files. That's 34. To put that into perspective, that suggests the Frozen Trail could potentially become the largest map in Arc Raiders, even bigger than, like, let's say Dam Battlegrounds. And I really wouldn't be surprised if the map was actually the biggest one, because, like, considering the entire Frigate event on the map, it might be it. Some of the locations are particularly interesting as well. Several references appear to point directly towards the collectors, which might be destroyed on the ground on the map. We can see entries such as Collector Leg 1, Collector Leg 2, Fallen Collector Body, and other collector-related structures, which suggest that we may encounter the remains of these massive creatures throughout the map. We can also see locations referring to sewers, and if that interpretation is correct, Frozen Trail may include an underground layer itself, so that's really interesting. A multi-level map featuring surface locations, underground section, arc operations, cargo drops, and frigate event would easily make this the most ambitious environment Embark has created so far. And speaking of cargo drops, this is another feature we discussed in the previous leak videos. The files continue to reference cargo drops that appear to originate from the frigate itself, and now we know there are at least 2 tiers of these cargo drops, like a standard one and precious cargo. We will see what type of loot there is gonna be. Definitely some new items, maybe some new weapons. We will just have to wait until October. And honestly, Raiders, I really think that Embark is cooking with this one. This update is gonna be huge. I fully support the decision to move forward to 2 major updates per year rather than focusing on, delivering smaller monthly updates. They felt little weird, with all the new map conditions and the little enemies. So we will see if Frozen Trail delivers on even half of what these files suggest. It could easily become the most important update in Arc Raiders so far that we have ever received. And that being said, there is still one major issue standing in the way. We still have the cheaters and we still have the dupers. And a real quick update on that situation as well. Over the last few days, players on Reddit have been reporting that prices on several black market trading groups have started increasing, which could potentially indicate that Embark has successfully disrupted at least part of the duplication pipeline. If that's true, it would be a very positive sign. But I think we need to wait until next week's update for Embark to actually make an official statement to see what is going on. And so for now, all we can do is monitor the situation and see how Embark responds. So Raiders, what excites you the most about these leaks? The collector, the frigate, possibly boarding the arc vessel, or the enormous size of the Frozen Trail? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I am still staring at that image of the frigate carrying both the queen and the collector, and I'm just trying to comprehend the scale of it. And again, it's important to remember that these things can change, features can be removed, names can be altered, so this is just sort of like a concept. But I think since this is the second time similar leaks have been released from the game files, I think this is really close to being a reality as of we speak right now. So yeah, that's it from me for today, Raiders. Please stop asking me about the Chinese version of the game. I think we need to stop LARPing. The game has been sold to a completely different development company. I'm not even sure if it will be released under like Embark's name. We will have to see. If you really want me to, I can record a video about that, but unfortunately I think we will have to look at this like as a 2 completely separate games. Going back to our Arc Raiders, I'm really looking forward for the October update. I really think this could bring the game back. With that being said, I'll see you in the comments. Thank you all for the amazing support throughout my previous streams. I will see you in the next one. And with all that, John Raider, out.